So that was my first introduction. I fell in love with how it looks. And then as I got to study it more, I found out it's even more miraculous, because from just this one plant, you have over 1,600 uses. So it's a plant that the Chinese have a poem which talks about bamboo, that you can wake up, a man wakes up in a bamboo house, because bamboo is used for construction. You can sleep in bamboo bed sheets, in a bamboo bed. You can eat bamboo. You can use it for paper. You can use it for so many things. So it's a really magical plant in terms of development. And so for a country like Uganda, we can really benefit from bamboo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Divine, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be focusing more on your work at Divine Bamboo, and what you're doing right now, why you're doing what you're doing, and the leadership in that space, the change and management of change in that space, as well as the transformation. This is the CEO Bench. We'll be right back after the break.
C'est l'Alliance française. Une fille m'a posé une question, pourquoi prendre le français alors que je lui parlais de la radio Bonjour Kampala. Oh, venez, 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 venez. Venez apprendre le français. Je vous invite à venir. Venez à l'Alliance française. Viens mon frère. Venez. Viens ma sœur, à l'Alliance française. Venez à l'Alliance française. Venez, venez, venez apprendre le français. Venez à l'Alliance française. Venez apprendre le français. Venez à l'Alliance française. Je vous invite à venir. Venez apprendre le français. Venez à l'Alliance française. La plus largement appris après l'anglais. Les Français disent langue étrangère, la plus largement appris après l'anglais. La connaissance du français ouvre des portes, des entreprises en France comme à l'étranger. La connaissance du français ouvre des portes, des entreprises en France comme à l'étranger. Le français, la langue de la culture, la langue internationale pour la cuisine, la mode, les théâtres, les habitués, la danse et l'architecture. Le français, la langue de la culture, la langue internationale pour la cuisine, la mode, les théâtres et les habitués,
La danse et l'architecture.
oh, oh,
Oh, I love friends.
oh,
Oh, I speak friends.
oh, oh,
Oh, I love friends.
oh,
Oh, I speak friends.
I love friends,
Oh,
I love
I
friends,
love friends.
I speak friends,
Oh,
I speak
I
friends,
speak friends.
I love friends,
Oh,
I love
I
friends,
love friends.
I speak friends,
Oh,
I speak
I
friends,
speak friends.
oh,
Oh, I love friends.
oh,
Oh, I speak friends. Venez, apprends le français. Venez à l'Alliance française.
venez, venez,
Venez, apprends le français.
venez, venez,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
venez à Kamocha,
Venez,
Bukoto
apprends le
Street,
français.
Blood Sekande,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
venez dans la grande famille, venez, oh,
Apprends le
oh, oh,
français.
venez mes amis,
Venez à l'Alliance française. Bien Molière, c'est l'idiot Nabaweesi. En passant par Ayana Kamura. Pourquoi tu penses que les Français c'est une langue internationale?
Que tu sois fondé autour du fond du plaisir. Dis-moi le bonheur en abondant et là,
En pleine évolution.
venez,
Venez, apprendre les Français.
mes amis, venez,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
la langue française,
Venez,
la langue de
apprendre les
paix,
Français.
la langue de la courtoisie,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
la langue française,
Venez,
la langue de la
apprendre les
courtoisie,
Français.
la langue de paix,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
venez dans la grande famille, venez à l'Alliance française, venez apprendre le français,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
je vous invite à venir, venez mes
Apprendre
amis,
le français.
venez, venez, venez,
Venez à l'Alliance
venez,
française.
venez. Tout le monde parle français,
Parlez français.
parle français,
Parlez français.
everybody parle français,
Parlez français.
everybody, bina moke, bina moke, bina moke,
Bina Mouké.
everybody, bina moke,
Bina Mouké.
bina à gauche,
Bina à gauche.
bina à droite,
Bina à droite.
bina devant,
Bina devant.
bina derrière,
Bina derrière.
bina devant,
Bina devant.
parle français,
Parlez français.
parle français,
Parlez français.
parle français. Venez, venez,
Venez apprendre le français. Venez à l'Alliance française.
je vous invite à venir, venez apprendre les français, à Kamochao,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
à Bukoto Street,
Venez
Blood
apprendre le
Sekande,
français.
venez, venez, venez.
Venez à l'Alliance française.
Si tu veux parler français,
Venez
viens à l'Alliance.
apprendre le français.
Si tu veux parler,
Venez à l'Alliance française.
si tu veux entrer dans la famille, viens,
Apprendre
viens,
le
viens,
français.
viens, 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 viens.
Venez à l'Alliance française.
how did you, as a child, if you visibly remember, what did you want to be in life?
Well, if I go back, I think I looked at two things as a child. I thought about, I looked up to the skies and I'd see the stars and, see the airplanes flying over. And as I was there, with my dad, looking after the cows, or with my grandma going fishing, or with my grandpa farming, I'd look up and go, wow, what are those things up there? And then someone told me, that's a space station. Go, okay, interesting. And what else is up there? Well, those are stars, and those are airplanes. I thought, well, it would be great, to figure out how those things work. Yeah. And so I guess that was one interesting, passion of mine as a little kid. Figuring out how aerospace vehicles work, and I guess that wasn't something which excited me a lot.
Wow. You said the two things. So how did you end up there? You were fishing with your grandmother, you mentioned, and farming with your father, and grazing with your grandfather. Why were you not able to pick one of these from these, three different distinct people, and then you ended up in the things that are up in the sky with all this interest? What was the motivation like? Was somebody an aerospace engineer? Was somebody thinking about the things up, or it just came to you?
It's, back then, we didn't have Wi-Fi. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't even have phones, yes. Or television. We just had nature, and that was great, And we had stories around the campfire, around the hearth every evening. Yeah. We'd sit down and talk to each other. We lived quite close to national parks, so every now and again a lion would hop over and grab a cow and go and have supper as well. So we shared with the lion. So it was being at one with nature. Yeah. But what was important in all that was, allowing one's mind to imagine, allowing one's mind to run, to fly, to really go as far as one's mind could possibly go. Yeah. And if I think of looking at things from the space going down, I could still look down and figure out what's going on, on the fishing side. I could look at what's going on the farming side. I could look at what's going on the grazing side, because when you're up there, you can see everything. Yeah. But it also helps you appreciate how special the earth is. Yeah. So that's I'm most grateful for that natural environment, that any kid in a rural village in Uganda or any other part of Africa right now has that, where you see every star. And I believe there is something special about that.
Irene, being the very first person in Uganda, earlier on when we were talking to you, you became the first employee of Diwala in Uganda. I mean, what does that make you feel like, being the first leader of a new innovation happening in Uganda? What experience has it given you so far?
It's a very humbling experience. And I always thank the team at Diwala for giving me the opportunity, because I can tell you, when they met me, it was about 3 years ago, but just chatting about what technology is in Uganda, how it can be applied to the education sector. It wasn't really, I could say, an interview. It was more me trying to give people some data and some information. And my CEO tells me that from that point, she felt like I could be part of that team. And I can tell you, I had zero knowledge about what blockchain technology is.
Yes.
And
yet here you are now talking like,
zero technology.
Yeah.
And now getting into Diwala and understanding what they do and understanding why they do it, which is very important.
Yeah.
It is important to know
why?
The reason behind your why.
Yes.
Like, why are you doing something?
Yes.
And understanding it and understanding its impact and understanding what blockchain technology can do, how it can improve our lives. It's really been a great journey learning from them. It's first of all a humbling experience that I'm part of that team.
Yeah.
It's a humbling experience that I'm given the opportunity to learn. Very rarely do people take a chance on you. Yes, I have skills, but I believe I'm continuously growing. I am still being kind of beaten here and there. And it's humbling, and I'm excited to be part of that team. I'm excited to introduce the technology to all the people I know, my networks. And all I can say is that a lot is coming.
It is a CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila on this particular day of the week or the month or the year, depending on which part of the world you're actually watching this program from. My guest this morning on the CEO Bench needs no introduction. It is said that if a person needs a long introduction, they don't deserve one. And if they deserve one, they don't need one. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, on the CEO Bench today, we bring you the story of a young lady springing out of Uganda, from the central region of Buganda. The name means something else, and both of our names are quite very, significant when you think about the words and the meaning behind the words. What the English people say is the etymology of the letter, or the words, or the origin of the words. Welcome to the CEO Bench. And of course, as my name is Eddie Okila, live on House of Talent Television is Divine Nabaweesi, who is the founder and the CEO of Bamboo, Divine Bamboo, or Bamboo Divine. That's how now people call her. Divine, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Eddie.
First of all, how are you and how have you been?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
You are welcome. And the CEO Bench often look at people like you who are doing something significant in our society, or people who are doing something for others, or people who look beyond self. But first, we want to know from you, who is Divine in a nutshell?
Who is Divine?
Yes.
First of all, I'm very honored to be here. I know that you've had some very great speakers before me, so I'm very honored for the invitation. And as you mentioned, my name is Divine Nabaweesi. I'm Ugandan, born and raised. I grew up in Entebbe, and I later moved to Kampala, where I attended secondary school. I went to Uganda Matters, Namugongo. And then for my A-levels, I went to King's College, Budo, and then I pursued a Bachelor's of Social Work at Makerere University.
Okay. And when you say you you grew up from Entebbe. Does that mean that's where your ancestry starts from, your home, everything? For a person who's watching you from, New York or from London or from, Finland, and they want to know more about you, they don't know these things. In Africa, we have the origin of where we come from. Is that where your parents spring out from?
Okay. So the origin story is will sound a bit funny because my village is actually Nigeria, which used to be a village, but now it's not a village. So
yes.
yeah, that's where my mother is from, and my father is from Masaka.
Okay.
Yes.
So authentically, you're a Muganda from Buganda.
Yes, I am.
All right. And then so they always ask, Wedirachi, what is your tribe? Does that mean in Buganda?
Yeah.
So let's tell us more about the culture of Buganda and where you come from, how you guys do things, the history of your name, behind what does Nabaweesi mean for somebody who is watching the program from any part of the world and would like to know you. Particularly me, personally, I'm interested in knowing.
Well, okay, that is a tough question. that is a very tough question. But my clan is the Cow clan.
Okay.
So my name, Nabaweesi, comes from Omuwesi, who used to be an iron worker.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Why did your parents give you the Omuwesi name that was a iron worker? And yet you were in wood and bamboo.
True.
Yes.
Maybe they knew I was going to be a creative.
Okay.
Maybe, I suspect.
And talking about creativity, all through growing up, what has been your creative thinking process like as a person?
I think that I draw a lot of inspiration from reading. I started to read at a very young age. I'm always reading. And when you read, you're drawn into this world of different characters from different centuries, and I think that opens up your mind.
Yeah.
And because you're able to dream and to know that there's a different world out there and that anything is possible, really. So I think for me that's been very important.
All right. Talking about that, your parents, your father and your mother, and your history from Nigeria, which is just a suburb of Kampala. For those of you guys who are watching the show from all across the world, Nigeria is just it's what we call a satellite city away from the city of Kampala. A couple of kilometers away from the main city is where she comes from. So technically, Divine was born or comes from the city center. That's the village. And Masaka is what, about 100 kilometers away, or 122? Is it 200 kilometers?
About.
From Kampala,
yes.
Yes. About 120 kilometers away from Kampala. So she's a girl around about the city and the town. All right? And talking of that, when we want to look a little bit deeper on the background of Divine from the family point of view, growing up as a child, what was it like with your parents?
I think I had a normal childhood. It was happy, but I think mostly ordinary. I was able to explore and play as a child, so I think, it was a good childhood.
Okay, and what was your character like when growing up as a child, that when you look back at this point where you are right now, you can say, I was always leaning towards this? Were you beaten like a typical, African child who is always given a few slaps here and there for being stubborn? At some point, we would just see parents give you a look, and you know what the look means and what it does. Not very many people know this. How was yours like in your family? Are you the only child? Are you, how many are you?
Okay, so I have 3 siblings, but I think that growing up, I was a good student, what some call teacher's pet. Yes. So I was very good. Yes. I did my homework on time. Yes. I was excelling. So I think I always survived the caning because of that. Yeah. I was a good student. I also loved nature. I joined the Girl Guides, and because we were in Entebbe, we would go camping in the botanical gardens. So I always loved nature from a young age. I was planting flowers and trees already at a young age. So I was drawn to nature very early on.
Wow. Yeah. Which basically brings us to this interview that we're having today. So Divine, let's talk about you and the leadership. The program you're on today is about leadership. Change management, leadership, change management, and transformation is what the CEO bench is about. We bring people who are, moving forward or climbing the ladder to the top of leadership, or coming down from the top as leaders, retiring, or people who are on the way, the verge of going. And right now, you are a lady on the rise. And the nomination that brought you to the CEO bench suggests that. We want to just know from you that your self-leadership, what is your understanding of leadership first of all, and what is leadership to you?
My understanding of leadership would be someone who is able to inspire others. So a leader should be somebody that other people look up to for guidance on, it could be a specific discipline, maybe a sport or entrepreneurship, but a leader needs to be able to inspire others to be better and to achieve a certain goal, I guess.
Okay. And what is self-leadership to you? What would you define as a self-leadership from a divine point of view?
Self-leadership, I think reminds me of something that Jim Rohn once said, that you have to motivate yourself always. If you wait for other people to motivate you, it's like waiting at a train station where no trains come, so you'll be waiting forever. So you basically have to motivate yourself. That's the only way to be a leader, I think.
Okay. There are 5 different types of leadership divine that exist. There's what we call a transformative leader or transformative leadership approach. There is what we call a laissez-faire leadership approach and style. And there's what we call a democratic leadership style or approach. And there's what we call transactional leadership approach to things. And then the 5th one is what we call charismatic. Which of these do you practice and why?
Interesting, because I feel like there's maybe one missing.
Yes.
And I would call it collaborative leadership.
Yeah.
Yes, because I don't think that in any organization or country or any setting that just one person has all the answers.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's always a team effort, whether it's a family or in a company.
Yeah.
So I think my style of leadership is collaborative.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And that said, Divine, just as we take a break from this, we want to take a break, but when we come back, we want to focus a little bit more about knowing you and, why you do what you do. And of course, to tell us a little bit more about Bamboo, you have been headlining all across Uganda and, even across border about bamboo planting. And we all grew up knowing that bamboo was a tree you can find at home. We played under, we picked the leaves. It was used for buildings, used for building shades, houses in Africa. And at some point it died. It started dying away. It wasn't now the main thing like eucalyptus used to be, the bamboo used to be. Yeah. But you are in this space back. Why bamboo, by the way?
Why bamboo?
Yes.
Why not bamboo? Should I answer now after the break?
Yeah, sure. No, answer that one.
Why bamboo? Bamboo is a miracle plant. It's a magical plant. I first fell in love with bamboo, first of all, because it's a beautiful plant. Yeah. Have you been in a bamboo forest?
Yes.
Where?
No, not really a forest per se. I would call it a bamboo plant.
Yeah.
Yes, just a smaller place, which is not really a forest. What we'll say 1 acre is not a forest, 2 acres, 3 acres is not a forest.
Okay.
Yes, I went to one which used to supply the buildings, the places that build places for recreation in Kampala, yes. Okay. So they're the biggest, largest place for production of bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first introduction to bamboo, that it's just a beautiful, magical plant. When you're in the bamboo forest, the way it looks, the way the wind blows through the leaves, it's just magical.
Okay.
So that was my first introduction. I fell in love with how it looks. And then as I got to study it more, I found out it's even more miraculous, because from just this one plant, you have over 1,600 uses. So it's a plant that the Chinese have a poem which talks about bamboo, that you can wake up, a man wakes up in a bamboo house, because bamboo is used for construction. You can sleep in bamboo bed sheets, in a bamboo bed. You can eat bamboo. You can use it for paper, you can use it for so many things. So it's a really magical plant in terms of development. And so for a country like Uganda, we can really benefit from bamboo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Divine, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be focusing more on your work at Divine Bamboo and what you're doing right now, why you're doing what you're doing, and the leadership in that space, the change and management of change in that space, as well as the transformation. This is the CEO Bench. We'll be right back after the break. By the way, when you won in Tanzania, that was your biggest cup, Sekafa. What was the party like? Did your chairman walk on his head? What was going on?
The chairman was very excited. I had not heard.
What happened in the board? We want to know.
First of all, some of the board members flew in to watch the game.
Okay.
The chairman could not fly in because of the schedule, but I was on call from the semi-final stage. He would call me all the time. Do you need anything? We're happy. He was very excited. I had never had a chairman CEO conversation this long with him. It was the first time.
Yes.
And everybody that is connected to Express was really, really happy. I mean, we beat Yanga in the semi-final. Then we beat Nabaweesi from Malawi, the champions of Malawi. And everybody was really, really excited. My family was very excited. My family is always complaining that I don't talk about them. My family was very happy. They were excited. I'm sure most of them are watching this show right now. The families of my staff, this for me is very exciting. The families of my staff are always following Express because their children are working for Express.
Wow.
And many other people. It was winning the Sekafa.
Yes.
Kind of cemented the kind of transformation Express has had in the recent times. And we have a Sekafa. Every time I look at that trophy, I keep telling my people, well done.
Yes.
And I'm sure the chairman, wherever he is, I'm sure he's busy, but he will watch this show. I'm sure he's happy that we have the Sekafa in our bag. We have the Premier League in our bag. In his third year, by the way. This is his last year, but I know he's around. But he had a plan from 2018 to 2021. And 2021, he has won all this. I'm sure he's very happy. For the first time, and we believe it's not the last time. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome back from that break. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Okila, live on House of Talent. And of course, my guest this day or this morning, this evening, this night, depending on which part of the world you're watching the program from, is a lady who is deeply rooted into planting bamboo for a cause. Divine Nabaweesi is the founder and the CEO of Divine Bamboo, a limited company, but for a cause. If I get it right. Divine, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Divine, we're talking about bamboo and your life at bamboo and the things and why bamboo and why you picked bamboo. I want to take you straight to this question that I usually ask. In today's rapidly changing world, learning to design our organization to read the turbulences that are brought about by the advent of COVID-19, for example, creatively is quite critical to our existence going forward. And leadership plays at the core of this every time we think about it. You are thinking creatively in the space of I need to plant bamboo. We're talking about climate change at the moment, and it's a turbulence that is coming with it, forcing us to do many things that are not right. I want to take you back to that point. Why did you pick yourself and give yourself, and rather gave yourself the meaning and appointed yourself to start doing bamboo of all the things that you've talked about? Why?
Why? That's a very interesting question, Eddie, but I actually think it's the other way around. Yes. I don't think I chose bamboo. I think bamboo chose me. I think bamboo chose me because I really feel like it's my life's calling, my life's work to do this. Yeah. And so it was a natural progression because I already love nature, I love trees, and the more I started to learn about bamboo, I saw how much potential it has, not only for climate change, but like for rural development, for youth empowerment, for women economic empowerment. So there's so much potential there. I had no choice but to start engaging with the bamboo industry.
Okay. And initially you were in the construction business before, if we follow you well. And why the switch?
Why the switch? I think...
What sparked the switch?
I think it's related to something we were talking about in the break. Yeah. That a lot of times we do work that we don't have passion for. And so I felt like that wasn't my calling. I wasn't really happy doing that, being in the real estate sector. So I wanted to do something that that would make my heart happy, while at the same time contributing to social and environmental good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the Divine Bamboo. When you started the organization, you said you felt like it was a calling for you to go into it. But what is really the real story behind the call, and what is Divine Bamboo in a nutshell?
Okay. So Divine Bamboo is an innovative forestry and energy company. It's a Ugandan company. And our mission is to stop deforestation in Uganda. We do that through the promotion of bamboo as a sustainable alternative to cutting down traditional hardwoods. So that was my motivation really, because Uganda is losing so much tree cover. We're losing so much forest because mainly of the need to cook. So because of fuel wood in the form of charcoal and firewood, a lot of people don't have a choice but to go to the forest and cut down trees. Yeah. And so we wanted to provide an alternative to that.
Okay. Yeah. And so when you started to provide an alternative to this, how has this been received by the people that you're talking to?
So of course, with any new innovation, it's not straightforward. Yeah. You don't get the idea today and then the idea is mature. Yeah. First of all, the idea, the business model takes time to develop. Yeah. And in the same way, the audience, the customers also need time to adapt to the new products and like the new plant in this case. So it's a gradual process, but I would say that we are seeing very positive change.
Okay. Uganda is predominantly a country that uses, or Africa for that matter, a continent that predominantly uses wood as a cooking fuel. For many, livelihood depends on it, and therefore we are cutting trees because of this. Has been a long journey of us using charcoal for eternity. I mean, at home you're using charcoal. Now we've seen the new gas fuel coming in for cooking, but not everyone can afford. Yeah. And the mindset behind cutting the trees and the economy around it is also heavy. There's a lot of money into the charcoal business, which is cutting down the trees, burning the charcoal and selling it. And a lot of the stories we've seen how trees in Uganda are disappearing because Kenya is demanding a lot of charcoal coming from Uganda. And our neighbors, and so is Rwanda. How are you dealing with this challenge of people still believing that this is where our economic livelihood spring out from, and yet you're telling us not to cut the trees? I mean, since you started this campaign and this organization to sort of like educate us and change our perspective and take us back to the dangers that faces us from a climate change perspective, how has the journey been like, and how are you dealing with the perception and the mindset of these people?
So I would say it's interesting because we no longer have to do a lot of the talking.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of changing circumstances, it's now self-evident. For example, when we started Divine Bamboo 5 years ago, a sack of charcoal in Kampala was like 50,000. Right now, it's like 100,000. And that shows you the scarcity. So charcoal used to come like from Luero. Now people are going as far as Arua and Moyo to cut down trees.
Yeah.
So sadly, eventually there will be no more trees to cut. So even at 200,000, the charcoal just won't be there anymore. So that's self-evident, everybody can see that. And so the solution is now more obvious. The other evident thing is climate change. 10 years ago, if you went to the village and told people about climate change, they would not understand.
Yeah.
But now, you don't have to be in COP in Glasgow to understand climate change. Even farmers in the village can know that the rain is taking longer, the sun is hotter, the harvests are changing. So because of the way the world is moving, the problem we are solving is now very obvious. And I think that's why finally at COP we were able to see a focus on nature solutions, because we have to use nature to fight it. It's not the only solution, but I think it's a big part of the solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Divine, let's talk about more about the people that you're working with, and at Divine Bamboo. How do you get people motivated to join your dream and your vision and your mission? If you would start from your mission and how you recruited people to it.
So again, we try not to recruit people and then motivate them.
Yeah.
We try to recruit motivated people.
Okay.
Yeah, because we would like to have a team which is already motivated in solving the problems of climate change, of deforestation, of youth empowerment. So once somebody already has that as a foundation, it's then easy to bring them onto the team and to inculcate in them what our values and mission are.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm talking of the youth empowerment just before we take another break, if you'll break that more. Everybody's talking about youth employment, youth empowerment, youth employment, but we don't tend to get the substance coming out of it or the impact of it coming out. And we watched yesterday or the other day during the COP, 26 in Glasgow, when everyone was talking about the impact, the social impact, the youth, the entrepreneurship it needs to do, and everyone was talking about impact. But yet, when you look at the impact on the ground with the people that we're talking about, it doesn't seem to be quite immense. What are you doing as Divine Bamboo to bring this out? And what is youth livelihood and entrepreneurship from your perspective as Divine Bamboo?
So again, I would preface that by saying that the work we don't do by ourselves. We have a good team in-house, obviously, but we also have a network of partners. So for example, we are working with UNDP on a youth empowerment project, and some of our activities included training youth in Kamwokya. So we had a training about a month ago where we trained over 200 youth in Kamwokya. And we want to see how we can bring them on board in the value chain of clean energy. And so our ethos is to meet them where they are. So it's not about preaching, you need to use clean energy, you need to not cut trees, but you need to give them alternatives. And then you also need to show them how that works within their current situation. So for example, if we go to somebody making Rolex or making barbecue, we can show them how if they use our bamboo briquettes, they are cleaner, so there's less smoke and soot, so means better health for them, but also they cook longer, so in the end they're able to have a saving. So it has to be practical for your audience and for the customer.
Okay. Divine, talking about that, obviously Africa struggles quite a bit, and Uganda is no different from leadership. Mentorship, management, and leadership is not quite easy. And the young people of today are not finding it easier compared to the baby boomers, and then the what I would say, our fathers. They had a certain level of mentorship. The ones that came after that stopped the process. The ones that are supposed to be mentoring, those we're calling millennial today, or Gen Z, are not even trying it. What are you doing with Divine Bamboo from a leadership perspective to get this youth that you're training in any of these areas to actually know that leadership is a very key component of them, succeeding in life?
I actually have a different take on that.
Yeah.
I feel that today, more than any other time in human history, there are more opportunities than have ever been there. Yeah. There's so much information in books, on the internet, and so I actually feel that young people today have more resources than ever before. You can go on Twitter and learn from the best minds possible without paying anything, both globally and even locally here. Like, for example, what Robert Kabushenga is doing with his 360 Mentor. Yeah. He's having incredible people there. You can access it for free. So I think that the opportunities today are greater than ever. But yeah, so what we are doing is we have internship programs. So we have internship programs where we bring on the youth and we teach them how we are working and how they can maybe be a part of the organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about this, Divine, it's a good point and I would like to agree with you. But I want to just take you a little bit back to one thing is telling them this is what you need to do, or this is how we need to go. The other thing is holding their hand to go with them to reach there. How are we doing this at Divine Bamboo? Because you fairly deal with a young generation motivated by your work, they're training the younger people. What is their response toward your call and how are you dealing with it, holding the hand to move them forward?
The response is very good. We have a lot of engagement on our social media channels, but I think the biggest one, like I mentioned, is the internship program, where they actually come and join the company, and for a few months, maybe 3 or 4 months, they get to work with us. And through that program, we've actually got, I think right now, like 4 current employees who came through that program. So I think that would be our biggest engagement, on top of the outreach that we do, like in Kamocha, where we had the training to show them how to use briquettes in their existing businesses. Wow.
We're talking to Divine Nabaweesi, who is the founder and the CEO of Divine Bamboo, an organization that has focused itself in planting bamboo and making sure that we actually have clean energy coming up from that space. If you have a question, we would like you to post it out there and Divine will be able to answer it. Kisses and disses are welcome. We don't take things personal. Divine is here to, answer your question. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the CEO bench will continue on change management and how bamboo is causing transformation in our society. What is leadership to you, JP?
So for me, the leadership, I would say there are different components, but the most important is the art of knowing people.
Yeah.
How you know your clients, how you know your associates, your colleagues, and all the different stakeholders that are part of the business. How you know your bosses, your investors, how you know the key people that bring you business, the key relationship you must have in a market in order to make sure that thing goes smooth. So I think this requires an openness of mindset.
Yes.
And I would say that for me, the fact, again, that I have 2 cultures, I live in different places, it helps a lot.
Okay.
You find similarities, of course. If I see how Ugandans are and how Brazilians are, they are not totally alike, but there are a lot of similarities. If I see how a French person is, or a German, or an American, they are very different. and difficult people.
Yes.
I know by the French side because
yes.
I have my French family.
Yes.
I worked in France.
Yes.
I worked with French companies.
Yes.
So I learned how to deal
with
this.
Yes.
And so and now especially this past years working for Sheraton Group, it's more like Anglo-Saxon approach of hospitality.
Yes.
So this also, so all these dimensions are very important. So it's knowing people, knowing the culture, the different generations you deal with. It's a very important.
Yeah.
It became more and more because the gap between generations have changed.
Yeah.
I would say, or I mean. People that analyze the market trends,
yes.
how things go. Before, a generation gap will be 10 years.
Yes, yeah.
Now it's shorter.
Yeah. Welcome back from that break. My name is Okila, and this is Creative Industry Talk mixed with the CEO bench, with everything about talking creatively about planting trees, but particularly bamboo. Today we've learned something from Divine, that bamboo is a magical tree, it's a magical plant. We want to dig deep into that. Divine, welcome back to the program. When we went to the break, we were talking about the impact of the project that you do on the young people that you're working with, the mentorship management and the leadership. Let's talk about change management. There are a lot of things that are happening in our society today. And as the founder and CEO of Divine Bamboo, you must be meeting a lot of challenges that requires change and managing change from one place to another. But first, you started by managing change from you, turning around your life from the construction business and the real estate business into bamboo. No one quite understood why you just did a switch. What was the journey like, moving from what you once was comfortable with to something that it could have been either failure or success?
So the journey is never smooth. I don't know if you've seen like an infographic that illustrates the journey of success, like what outsiders see is a straight line.
Yes.
But really what's going on is like a lot of craziness.
Yes, yes.
So of course the journey is not smooth.
Okay.
And in the beginning I had no idea at all what I was going to do after I left the real estate industry. Yeah. And so I actually took some time off and went to travel and just to find out what I want to do. Yeah. And yeah, so I think that looking deep within yourself and being honest with yourself and looking at what you love to do, what your interests are and your passion, it will lead you to your calling.
Okay. Yeah. Divine, talking about that, what is your greatest challenge that you have ever faced in your life, and how were you able to manage it as a founder and CEO of Divine Bamboo?
I think the biggest challenge is financial, definitely. Because the very definition of a startup is that you're doing something in an innovative way that has not been done before. Yeah. And unfortunately, that means that sometimes you don't even know how your idea is going to make money. So you know that it's going to save the world and save the forest, but how does it make money? Yeah. So until you figure that out, there's a gap, so it's really challenging. And even when you figure it out, because it's a new product, you don't get customers just like that. So it's a process. And so it's very challenging because the company is running and you have bills and you have people to pay and you have all these things going on. And so, yeah, it's quite challenging to run a company for a number of years while you're loss making. But, yeah.
Yes. That's a challenge for everyone. And one of the things I want to, while we're still on change management, you obviously meet young people or people who have been through certain things like you have been through already. What are usually your answers to them? You said the challenge was when you started running the company for some time without financials and, you know, splitting everything. I'm sure you went back to your parents quite too many times to ask for a few shillings here and there to help you, and they kept telling you, but this thing of yours, we're not sure about it. And then they start to measure your degree, which you have gotten, vis-a-vis what you are doing that doesn't sort of like, you know, take you to the corporate world where it's almost assured that you're going to get salary at the end of the month. There are many people like that who are stuck and they're watching you right now. What advice would you give them on how they can manage that change that sometimes can make some people become very comfortable and fearful to move?
So one of the best pieces of advice I've ever had was like, when things are tough, especially in business, instead of giving up, just keep doing what you're doing, and by this time next year, be here doing the same thing. So you need to have a laser sharp focus.
Yes.
You need to tune out all the noise and just keep doing what you're doing, because eventually your work will speak for itself. Eventually your customers will find you, your people will find you. But obviously it's not easy, it's easier said than done.
Yes.
So you need to prepare yourself. It's really, really tough. So your tolerance of pain has to be also quite high.
Yes.
But in the end, it works out.
Okay.
So I would say persistence. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's
Okay.
all.
But how do you find persistence, hope, trust and character in the midst challenges of bills coming in, you know, change from where you used to be comfortable with salary and to where you now need to, you know, drink a cup of coffee at Endiro Coffee, like where you used to sit, and the pocket is not coming as clearly as possible. How do you manage that change, which is really very tricky at that point? I know you said it's not easy and said and done, but I want you to just dig a little bit deep on your story of when you didn't have the finances, but you had to start. How were you able to keep going, and how did you eventually hit the finance button?
I mean, I guess that's why people write books, because there is so much to say.
Yes, yes.
But I think the biggest thing is the mind.
Yeah.
Your whole life is basically just in the mind.
Yeah.
So if you decide you're going to do something, no matter what happens, but you know this is what you're meant to do, you'll keep going.
Yeah.
So the mind is very important, having a positive attitude, being around positive people, reading books of successful people, but also associating with successful entrepreneurs who might also not be very successful, but who are going through the same thing as you.
Okay.
So for example, someone who has been very helpful to me is called Solomon King.
Yeah.
He's the founder of Fundi Bots. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So because it's the same journey,
Yeah.
nothing you're facing is unique to you.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to hustle.
Yes, yes.
You're not the first person to struggle with a business.
Yes.
So go out and talk to other people who are doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Get encouragement, because you need that fuel to keep going.
Yeah. Wow. Divine, talking about that, where do you draw your source of inspiration from while managing this change?
From quite a number of sources. I think nature itself for me is my inspiration. So even if planting trees is my work, to relax I still go to nature. So I go and visit forests, I go to see the lake. So nature is I think my biggest source of filling up my cup. Then friends and family, that's also very important. Because if you're working, it's in the beginning it's difficult to make the balance, but as you mature as an entrepreneur, you start to understand that you need to have the balance. You need to create time intentionally to spend with your friends and family, and also reading. I like to read a lot because you learn so much from books.
Okay, let's talk about finally Bamboo and Uganda. Uganda has a plan 2024 as our vision. I want you to share the vision of Divine Bamboo, the mission behind it, and how does that fit in the vision of Uganda 2040?
So the beauty about Bamboo and Divine Bamboo is that our company ticks about 10 of the SDGs, from good health and well-being to economic development, gender equality, life on land. And so we find that we have a very good fit with the government and government programs. In fact, we were part of the key stakeholders who were able to draft a national bamboo strategy for Uganda. So the government is on board. They are interested in bamboo. They want to promote bamboo. And so we look very much forward to working with like the National Forest Authority, Ministry of Water and Energy, the Ministry for Youth and Gender, because we believe that our programs can really help with rural development. We're increasing farmers' incomes through programs like agroforestry and through programs like Mandela's Energy as well, where we work with the farmers and then the waste can be used to produce energy. So our projects and our company can really help to work alongside existing programs to increase people's incomes, to help to reduce deforestation, and to make sure that we preserve our forests.
Okay, let's talk about the Uganda Vision 2040, and I want us to go a little bit deeper into this. Uganda Vision of 2040, which you've talked about, but what drive and legacy would you want to be part of this 2040 vision of Uganda from that perspective?
So again, I'll take us back to the last week. The news has been dominated completely by COP26 in Glasgow, and especially nature solutions coming to the forefront. So prior to this, I feel like nature solutions were a bit underfunded and underrepresented, but finally nature got to be center stage, and now everybody is waking up, from government to billionaires like Bezos and the Gates. Everybody is now waking up to the importance of nature. So I feel like we are ready. We've been waiting for a long time. So we are ready to work with all partners to help achieve the targets that the world is setting. How can we reduce global warming? How can we contribute to the decarbonization? And so we are well positioned for that. We are working with farmers because we believe that it's going to take everybody. It's not just one company or one person. We're working with farmers, we are working with producers and businesses and schools. And so we are ready because we work with women, we work with youth, and hopefully we can help to influence the energy, the clean energy industry.
Wow. Divine, from the French angle, a couple of years ago you first appeared in France, the Campus France program that you went for. Let's talk about it. Was that your first time in France, and how did you get there?
Yes, that was my first time in France. So I attended a program at Alliance Française, and I was the best in, I think it was Delft Do, which is a level of French, of the French language. So then as a reward, I was given a trip to Paris and the south of France to go and learn more about bamboo actors in France, but also just to experience French culture.
Okay. And while in France for that program, or on that exchange program, what did you learn from there? What were the learnings that when you came back to Uganda, you have been applying, from the art and culture perspective to the environment perspective to the people perspective? What did you learn from there that you're implementing here that you can talk about now?
I think probably one of the biggest learnings was the fact that great things take time. So obviously things like the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower and all those amazing gardens that are created there, they don't happen overnight. So you need to dedicate the time and the resources to know that it's going to take a long time if you want to make something that will last forever. And also quality, like you have to really be consistent on quality.
Yeah. And on that note, as we go towards the end of our interview today, I want to take you, recently you appeared in France for the New Africa France Summit 2021. And in Montefilia, as we call it, or Montefilia, I mean, the people who came back from France were trying to pronounce this is Montfilia, Montefilia, Montpellier, Montpellier. So all of this is, but you were there. What was the learning that you picked from there? What is your understanding of the new Africa-France relationship?
Okay. So first of all, it was a great honor to be among the few Ugandans chosen to go and represent Africa in Paris and Montpellier. So for that, I'd like to thank the French Embassy and Ambassador Jules, and of course President Macron. So it was a very exciting time to be there, because I think that the world is shifting and things are changing. And so it's very progressive of President Macron to have this summit where in his speech he said all the presidents were calling him, like, why didn't he invite them? And he said he didn't want to talk to presidents this time. He wanted to listen to young people, the people of Africa. And he had some very tough conversations actually with some youth from Africa. So I feel like it was a chance to be open, a chance to have a new relationship, and to forget, can I say, old mistakes and old wounds, but move forward together. So it was really exciting to be there.
Okay. And Divine, from a Divine Bamboo perspective, what did you learn from there? What kind of collaboration did you pick from there? What sense did you pick from there that you think that you are using right now or you will be using going forward?
So the sense I picked from there was the energy of young Africans, Africans from Kenya, from Chad, from Burundi, from really all over Africa. There's a lot of energy, a lot of good things happening in all industries, from renewable energy to beauty and mobility. There's a lot of intelligence. So Africa as a continent has a lot of potential, and so that was really invigorating. But also within the Ugandan delegation that went there, we were able to really network within the delegation and to form some very good synergies, and I'm happy that some of those are already moving forward.
Okay, and let's talk about the transformation of your business from that perspective. When we were into following what was happening in France, we would see a lot of France talking about we need to transform Africa, we need to work with Africa, transform Africa, we want to focus on the collaboration. Collaborations means equality, it means fairness, it means forward thinking, it means many things from their perspective. And you guys were in the audience. What transformational approach or information did you pick from there that you are going to apply back home here from your perspective as Divine Nabaweesi, as the founder and the CEO of Divine Bamboo?
One of the biggest things that I picked was a willingness to collaborate on both sides. The French companies, the French government is ready to collaborate. The Africans are ready, they have great solutions, they're very intelligent and energetic. So I think now is the perfect time for synergies. And so you could be a local company in Uganda, but with all the technology and opportunities, there is so much potential for collaboration. So you could be a local company, but with global clientele. And so that should be our mindset, that just because you're in Kampala doesn't mean you can't have clients in Paris or London or whatever.
Okay. That said, by the way, Divine, our biggest problem has always been one language. We speak one language. And so we can't do business with people who live in Mali because they are francophone, based countries, and we're anglophone this side. So we've not been able to do business together because we're sort of like a language barrier in between us. Don't you think that poses a big challenge into this transformation that we're talking about? What's your thoughts?
Maybe, but with every challenge, there's always an opportunity and a solution. So, as you know, there's opportunities here in Uganda to learn French. You could go to Alliance Française, they have evening classes, so you could slowly start to teach yourself. There are apps that you can use like Duolingo, but you could also maybe have a translator or work through a website that manages the interaction between Anglophones and Francophones. I think there's always a way if where there's a will.
Okay. So would you advise now the East African nations who are mostly, you know, Anglophone countries to go and learn French in order for them to interact with some of these opportunities you're saying? Because if you're going to interact with a company that is based in France and is going to provide solutions, you want to have a global, clientele. It requires that you know how to communicate to them. Business is about relationships and communication. I communicate to you in a language manner in which we all can build a synergy, and we can collaborate our ideas and be able to move things from point A to point B. But where I find it, I can't communicate with Divine. Even though I know what to say, I might struggle to say it or struggle to express my emotions to Divine. It's different when somebody's translating it. We saw it on the stage that most Ugandans who went and most Africans that went there and couldn't speak French struggled to understand because the translator was giving the translation, but things were being lost in translation, and some people may not have gotten it very well. Luckily for us, Uganda, we had the one Peter Nyiko who was there to, in the evening, sit down with the 20 people, whoever was available, to sort of like break things down because he studied in France, he's done all these things. But the point I'm trying to make here, Divine, is very simple. 5 languages in Africa. Shouldn't you start doing this at Divine Nabaweesi by sponsoring some of these children that you're doing to learn, so that the villages where you're planting the trees, there's a language that can begin to come out from there? Because should your customers come from France and say, we want to buy bamboo from the northern part of Uganda in Noya, for example, where you've just planted, I'm told, 7,500 trees or thereabout, how will they communicate? Would you use a translator or you work with them? Are you having any program, in other words, in line of transformation to take the language learning and the cross-cultural learning for peace building and for agricultural, economic benefits? That I can talk to you, you can talk to me, we can transact business based on that we understand the language. Are you doing that, or are you having a plan in that line of transformation?
It's interesting because the conversation today is always about young people and youth, and how the future belongs to them.
Yes.
So, but therein is also an opportunity, because when you're young, you have a lot of time, you still have time, and your brain is still very fresh. So then I would encourage them, the young people, to start learning different languages, and also parents, I guess. Because at that age, children can be encouraged to learn different languages, because that will open multiple opportunities for them. Unfortunately, we're not able to be sponsors right now, but they could talk to the French embassy or maybe the Ministry of Education, and I'm sure there are programs out there that can support them to become bilingual or trilingual or even more.
Okay, on that note, how many languages do you speak, by the way?
I speak 3 languages.
3 languages? Yes. Which one?
Luganda, English, and French.
Ah, okay. Yes. Well, I guess you're already in the process of making more money ahead of some of us who speak only 1 language or 2 languages and not very good.
And I'm learning German.
Wow. Divine, we've come to the end of the show. We want to just close up this program, the CEO Bench, today, by just telling us a little bit more about how do you measure impact of the work that you've been doing. In the last 5 years you've been working. How are you able to measure the impact, and what legacy would you want to leave behind? The day you said, I'm done, what will be the legacy of Divine Nabaweesi?
Okay. So, you do your best. You do your best and hope that you're going to have impact in your work. So our impact is measured in avoided deforestation, meaning that for every one seedling we plant, we are saving, for example, an acre of bamboo could potentially save 2 acres of hardwood trees every year. Then a ton of briquettes of bamboo is potentially saving X number of charcoal from being produced. So in terms of avoided deforestation, in terms of avoided emissions, but also in terms of opportunities that we give to women. We hope that our impact will be that women have more time for productive work instead of having to walk kilometers to collect firewood, for example, or the dangers they face while they're going to collect firewood. We hope that that would be the impact. Improved health, instead of cooking from the 3-stone fire that traditionally we in Africa are used to cooking on, that now they can have improved means of cooking. That would be an impact. The youth we are training, the opportunities, the income generation opportunities that we are creating, and also inspiring other young people and other women that you can come up with an idea that you believe in, and if you give it your all and give it time, eventually you will make a difference.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Divine, for coming to the program today. We want to say thank you for accepting our invitation to come and sharing with the ideas. We're definitely going to bring you back to the program, and looking forward to seeing the impact of bamboo in our society in the next couple of years to come. And what would be your one last parting shot to that one human being anywhere in the world, stuck in their job, don't know how to move from one point to the next, and want to move? And what will be that one word you want to leave them with, or 3 things that you want to leave them with, that when they do, they will begin to see different things or experience a different lifestyle going forward in their life? If you look into this camera.
Okay, I think 2 things. One is it gets better. It always gets better, so never give up. Like Winston Churchill said, never, 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 ever give up. And then the second one, which really helps a lot, which really helps me a lot, is remembering that there's enough for us all. So when other people succeed, be happy for them. And so don't fight for resources, don't be greedy, because in the end, there's enough for us all.
Wow. Thank you very much, Divine, and thank you very much, everybody, for coming to the program today. We're gonna, sort of like spread love like we always do. We're taught by Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe of Watoto, says, whenever you do this, you have to spread love. No, you have to spread love. Yes, you have to spread love to everyone that is going. But thank you very much for coming, Divine. We've come to the end of the CEO Bench today. We want to say thank you very much, everybody. Divine will be coming back on the show on the Creative Industry Talk to talk about the creativity of how they're using bamboo to create more jobs, and how that is being used in creating furniture, building houses, using it. She talked about that can be used for bed sheets and beds and stuff like that. We want to know how that process works. She talks about it being used in the value chain of, you grow bamboo, you use it for cooking, you use it for building the house, you use it for putting the shades, but then also you use it for cooking. How is that bamboo being turned around to briquette and to clean fuel to cook food? We want to understand that on the Creative Industry Talk. Until then, we say thank you very much for being part of the show. Eddie Okila, Divine Nabaweesi, signing out.
Learned a lot from the YouTube on how to make cakes. I don't need to come to an expensive school in Kampala. You can use it technology for it. Just get people exposed towards something and they see the good thing about it and they take off. So we can see that with technology, with ICT, women can transform their lives right from the home. You walk to an ICT center that is near you. Yeah. Students, even at home, can walk to the center. If you have a wireless system, hotspots available, like in the market in Gulu, we established the hotspots, and the women during the COVID, you can use it to sell, find market prices. Farmers are using it to find prices of, of their products. Network, the possibilities. You open people to the world and take them away from their small world. Yeah. Open them up. People are doing businesses, electronically.
Wow.
So that's the beauty of Bosco Uganda. I can
see what you're talking about. I can see through it. And I want you to share your questions if you have for Jennifer. But Jennifer, our time.
Has a a bit of complication, but it's intriguing.
Yes.
It's designed that way.
Yes, yes,
okay?
yes.
It may be a maze,
yes.
but there is order to what appears to be disorder.
So that is Pastor Semper.
That's Pastor Semper.
Yes.
And that's actually the work of God,
yeah.
a complex.
Yes.
When God does things, He does them fearfully and wonderfully. They're amazing
yes.
when you look at them. So people like you said, they want to put a dot where there should be a comma.
Yes.
And they want to keep you only in one place. People like to say, Pastor, why are you now entering into politics? Why are you now commenting on it? Pastor, now for example, yesterday some fellow on Twitter was complaining, I forget his name, he complained about a woman who tweeted that she's got 6 dildos, electronic dildos, okay? And she was saying, these are, can you imagine, I can have these and I have no threat of STDs. So now one of my followers complained and said, you know, man, how can we even compete with these things that never run out of energy? And now there was a growing falling out of people saying, man, we are really
being taken down, these things. But you're a human being, you're not electricity.
Exactly. But now,
and the system was never created for electricity.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, normally I don't go very much into issues of sex and but if I have to, I will. Yes. Because I represent a thinking of a biblical way, and people see me as a role model. Yeah. So I remember that back in I think about maybe 2019, they released a report, and this is a scientific report, that showed that couples, that is man and woman who had sexual relations and exchanged fluids, were happier. Women who had sex and exchanged sexual fluids were happier, and they examined what is the sexual fluids from a man. What are the chemical components? They broke them down. One of them, they call it a happy hormone called oxytocin. Now oxytocin is a happy hormone. When a woman receives oxytocin, she gets happy. It's only released during sex with a man or when she's breastfeeding a baby. Those are 2 times. And it makes her happy. Why do women, why do they bond with their baby, love them so much? Because there's a chemical release that God has designed. So when I release this research to this guy, I say, guys, don't worry, you are not, there is not even a competition. Those women there, they may use those gadgets, but they are still miserable still. Long after they have run out of batteries, because they can never have what God put into you. And guys were happy. Because you see, when God gives you a mission to bring happiness to you, between you and your wife, He equips you with the capacity to make her happy, which cannot be found in a dildo or in a machine. And by the way, I sometimes like to point this out to those who are practicing same-sex relations. You can't have that. You can't have that.
No.
Lesbians, homosexuals, they do not have that. It never comes, that chemistry. Number 2, even in those who are doing these feminists who are doing masturbation, whatever, you can't get those hormones. So I sometimes say the reason why some feminists are continuously miserable because they have never sampled the happy hormone.
No embarrass at all. And Pastor, I have a very interesting message here from Diwato Chom. He has said, and I'm going to read some of your questions from out there. This is coming from Iduat Ochom, is a serious lawyer in town, land rights lawyer, and with a fresh master degree from Swansea University, just returned. Swansea,
England.
Yes.
Well, hi, how you doing?
Hello, welcome to this edition of You and the Law. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. You and the Law is simply what it is, you and the law. In this show, we try to demystify the law for the ordinary person, make it simple for a teacher, for a lawyer, for a farmer, for a doctor, for a border rider, for a cleaner, everyone in our society. This program touches on every aspect of our lives that relate to the law. Is it marriage? Is it property? Is it land? Is it traffic? Anything that touches on the law will be discussed in this program. Today, we're going to have an interesting conversation that will focus on the institution of marriage. I know most of us have attended marriage functions. Some of us are married. Most of us viewers are married. But what does it mean to be married? How does the law look at marriage? So this conversation today will focus on demystifying the whole topic around marriage and how it is viewed from the eyes of the law. And to help us do this, I have a learned mind with me, and it's none other than my friend, my colleague, Emmanuel Elau. Emma, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Hello, viewers. Thank you for having me on the show.
In House of Talent, when you fist bump, you spread the love. So you do this, then you spread the love. Yeah, so Emma, how have you been?
Well, I've been great.
Yeah, we're coming in from 42 days of a lockdown. How has it been on your end?
It's been quite difficult. You know, you wake up in the morning, you sit around the compound, you look at the time. You know, you lose sense of the calendar because you fail to understand which is a Monday and which is a Sunday.
You're even lucky that you have a compound. Some people live in one-bedroom houses and
yes.
have nothing to look except their, iron sheets.
Yeah, sure.
And really, you're our first guest really on this program. And why do you think it's sort of important for people to just know about the law? Because I know you've been teaching law and practicing law for all these years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. You know, when it comes to the law, we basically live the law. You know, on a day-to-day basis, you know, whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl or you might be with another person's wife, you know, all the things are the law, you know. When you jump on a border, there is law. When you're driving, we're talking about traffic. You know, if you go to a restaurant, you must ensure that you have the money because you're consuming someone's energy and investment. You know, so you must be able to pay for that. So we interact with the law at all times.
It's part of our everyday life.
Yes.
Man, you don't want to be in trouble after many years of working hard only to realize that you have no rights at all simply because you didn't celebrate any of the marriages that are recognized within the laws of Uganda. With that, we come to the end of this edition of You and the Law. It's a bye from us. See you next time. It is a creative industry talk. My name is Okila and this is House of Talent Television. Welcome to the program. This week on the program, we bring you the story of those who are doing it in Uganda. And of course, we are always talking about local content development by Uganda, build Uganda. Do we really understand what this means? Do we know what local content development means? Everyone is talking about it. And today on the program, we decided to focus mainly on the woodwork in Uganda. You know, the creative industry talk is talking about, furniture building in Uganda. Do you buy Ugandan furniture? Do you have a Ugandan furniture in your building? Or are you all the way flying to China and to all these other places to have furniture from there? Yet you have people who are doing this woodwork in Uganda. On the program today, we focused their story and of course the interview to the young men who I found around the streets of Kampala. One day I was driving and I was looking for Ugandan furniture, and so I used to drive on the same road over and over, and I see this place and there's just a couple of young people just doing their stuff, crazy ideas and things put around the place, and I decided to give them a visit. It started raining, so I stood there for a couple of hours watching and seeing what was going on while I wait for a table to come to my office. And indeed, they made a table. So what I was looking for was, do they really understand what they're doing? Do they understand the art, behind the creativity that they're actually, involved in? And along the way, I realized that they just simply need, somebody to believe in them.
So we decided to bring them onto the program today so that we can enjoy the creative minds and the creative people of Uganda in the woodwork in Uganda, in the furniture business in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, welcome you all to the Creative Industry Talk. And of course, my guest today is a man from the eastern part of Uganda. David Anderson Onyango was one of the people leading that particular business, you know, on that particular street in Kampala, Uganda, to the furniture business and supply in Kampala. David, welcome to the program. How are you doing? Here we spread the love. When you do this, you must spread the love. So you have to spread the love, yes. Welcome to the program, and I'm going to take off my glasses so that the creativity can start. First of all, we want to start from a very lighter note. Who is David Onyango?
Well, I am David Onyango Anderson. As you said, from the east, but born and raised of Kampala.
Okay.
I've roamed the streets of Kampala. I've seen my childhood through Kampala, my best and worst. And I